Alright, watch out WhatsApp. Teamchat is here to streamline high-volume messaging feeds and enable clutter-free messaging in large groups. Joining us on Rising Stars today, Beerud Sheth, co-founder and CEO of Teamchat. Beerud, thanks so much for coming down to our studios today. You know, before we start talking about Teamchat, take us through your journey because, you know, we might feature you on Rising Stars out here, but you've been in this space for a long time.
Actually, yeah, I have been a serial entrepreneur, and though I grew up in Mumbai, I live in Silicon Valley, and I previously founded a company called Elance, which is one of the world's largest online freelance portal. And then I founded this company, you know, Gupshup is the brand we use, and Teamchat is the recently launched product. So I've done multiple rounds of entrepreneurship. Yes, been around a while.
So it's interesting in a field like this, in the smartphone category, chat apps, you know, which is so vibrant,
Yes.
you know, to stay on top of, you know, all of the latest developments in consumer trends. I mean, how do you kind of, you know, tap into it and realize what the next big thing's going to be?
Yeah, no, it's a serious challenge. Never a dull moment, that's for sure. But, you know, you talk to customers, you have to anticipate trends, I mean, and you watch what others are doing, you sort of stay up to it, and you have to keep adding value and innovating yourself as well. So, you know, certainly it keeps us busy.
So tell us what's Teamchat all about? What's this new product that, you know, that you're working with now? What's this new venture all about?
Sure. So just to set context, right? If you think about the first wave of messaging, apps like WhatsApp and others, right? They're basically plain messaging apps, right? You chat with friends and so on. But it doesn't scale for, let's say, business use cases, enterprise, and so on. It gets cluttered in large groups. It's hard to do anything extra beyond just chatting with your colleagues and friends. So with Teamchat, we came up with what we call smart messaging, right? So instead of each message being treated as a plain text message, imagine if it's an object, each message is an object with some data and code inside it. So for example, if I run a poll and send it to my colleagues, they can reply to it. Instead of seeing 1,000 replies, I would just see one message with the aggregate response, right? So you could do survey, you could do location tracking, you could fill forms, all of that in the guise of a messaging app, right? So it's a very simple but powerful idea. And one of the big things that's happening is messaging is going from being a simple communication app to being a platform on which you can do more advanced things. And that's what we do.
Right. So that sounds pretty exciting. I mean, what's the kind of traction you've seen? When did you launch Teamchat?
Right.
You know, or what is the kind of projection you have or growth opportunity here?
So Teamchat, we launched about 6 to 9 months ago, and we're seeing a lot of positive traction. So certainly here, you know, banks like HDFC, ICICI, there are thousands of employees using it to communicate internally within sales teams, HR teams, and so on. We have, let's say, Meru Cabs using it, Cafe Coffee Day, and these are just to name a few, but in many, many industries where they have lots of field employees where it's impossible to coordinate activities, they're using Teamchat to communicate. So, you know, we have about 2,000 plus organizations worldwide, you know, evaluating it, testing it, deploying it, and so on in their organization. So getting a lot of traction. It's a global product, and we're very excited about it. Yeah.
I remember just a couple of years back, or a year or two now, when WhatsApp really got acquired, one big debate out there was the way the valuations were being argued and the way, you know, they got sold as well.
Right.
What's the revenue model out here? Forget the valuation bit out here, but just to try and understand as to how these companies really make money, what's been your revenue model and the business model, if you could take us through that as well.
Sure. So it's a little different, right, on the consumer side versus the enterprise side, right? So for consumer messaging apps, it's still early, believe it or not, even though messaging has been around. They're figuring out whether it's gaming or in-app purchases or advertising perhaps in some apps, you know. When you come to enterprise, it's much simpler, right? Enterprises are willing to pay for each employee that uses, and we have a very simple per employee per month sort of pricing model. So it's easier to monetize, but you have to drive adoption, get them to use it, right? But if you think about it, the big idea is going to be, instead of all these complicated applications, right? In the enterprise, ERP, CRM, HR, these are sort of different enterprise apps. You can all do it right inside your messaging app. Just by sending messages to your HR manager, to your, you know, sales tracking manager, you get reports, charts. The coordination process becomes much, much easier. And just to add, you're seeing a similar trend even on the consumer side, right? Through messaging apps like, say, Facebook Messenger. in addition to chat, you're going to be able to do e-commerce, shopping, book a taxi, order pizza, maybe even do banking, believe it or not. And it's already happening in China with WeChat, but that trend is going to spread. So this is almost the second wave of messaging, where messaging becomes a platform for more advanced capabilities than just chit-chat.
It's interesting you mentioned that. Do you also see scope for somehow connecting with that payment ecosystem at some point?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because I think when you do transactions, clearly payments will be tied in. But it's very powerful, right? It's personal. It's simple. You know, you don't have to download dozens of apps and keep switching across all of it. It's just in there. And another interesting thing that's happening is, you know, people are creating these messaging bots, as they call it, like robots. And these provide you can chat with them in an automated way. And these bots can provide automated services, right? Like I said, ordering pizza, booking a taxi, and so on. So it's just very interesting time in messaging, yeah.
So take us to what have been some of the key learnings from Teamchat. What have been some of the factors that you managed to overcome, some of the challenges that you managed to conquer in the venture as well?
So I think, you know, one of the biggest challenges, especially with new innovative technology, tends to be status quo and inertia, right? People are just, they're hesitant, they're afraid to change, you know, you're comfortable with what you're doing and so on. But we live in a tech-intensive world, and I think over the last couple of years, right, India has transformed dramatically because of the whole smartphone adoption. So, you know, we are all being forced to adopt new technology much faster, and so on. And I think that's what makes, for example, Silicon Valley great, right? It's not just that the developers of technology are there, but even the early adopters are there. And I think India is sort of catching up on that in a big way. So anyway, when we go into enterprises, you know, we kind of have to explain and demonstrate it to them and do a proof of concept, but it's becoming much faster now. People are getting onto it very quickly. Yeah.
So just put Teamchat into the broader context for you as a company as well for us. Just want to understand in terms of the other things you're working on, where this fits in.
Sure. So I think basically my company, we've been in messaging all along. We are sort of one of the largest messaging companies in India and globally as well. We've been under the Gupshup brand, we've been selling an SMS messaging platform. So, you know, when you book a taxi or book an airline thing or do a credit card transaction, a bank transaction, the SMS message you get, about half the messages in India come from us. So you can blame me for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're the one I'm going to catch after the show, really.
There you go. But I think we're sort of one of India's largest companies sending those sort of, and SMS is a very important part of these transactional confirmations and so on. And then with the rise of smartphones, you know, messaging now happens on a different channel. It happens through the data channel as opposed to SMS, and that's where it made sense to launch Teamchat as a separate messaging app. But I think the common theme there, you know, when businesses want to communicate with their customers, with their employees, it could be any one of those channels, right? It could be SMS, Facebook Messenger, Twitter, WhatsApp, or Teamchat, and we want to enable all of those things around messaging. Yeah.
You know, we started the conversation by saying that you're not somebody who's just ventured out into startups or this entire environment right now. You've been around for some time. You've seen the entire culture and the entire startup environment really build in India as well. I want to ask you, in 2016, beyond messaging and what we've been discussing, are there any other trends that you believe one should possibly watch out for? Any new areas that could be game changers?
I mean, yeah, I think, you know, you look at, I mean, sort of wearables and is growing in an interesting way. I think artificial intelligence, AI, is going to be a big deal. People have talked about it for decades, but it's finally coming in with sort of these cloud compute. Also, cloud computing is going to be a big deal. So there's many, all of these technical trends converging, which is really transforming. But I think the exciting thing is, for the first time, India has a huge native market, which we've never had, not in the PC or in the internet world, but in the mobile world. India is a big player, and that's very exciting. Yeah.
Right. So good chatting to you today, Beerud. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me here. Bye-bye.
All right, so interesting data out there and interesting models. So if you're looking for a messaging app for employees on an internal basis, Teamchat is something that's been trying to build that.
Absolutely. That's all from us for now. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.